Hello and welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Campbell, where I'll be talking about everything new and exciting in nerd culture. Today I'll be discussing Netflix's new series, Daredevil. This is a series we've been waiting 25 years for. It's Marvel's apology for that Daredevil series back in the 90s that we never got. It's something we really haven't seen from the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. It's much darker, grittier, and much more violent than anything else they've put out. What I also like about it is that we don't have to wait half a series to find out a character's origin story. They jump right in telling us how Matt Murdock got blinded and how he became the vigilante he is today. This makes for a much more true interpretation of Frank Miller's Daredevil. Now, Charlie Cox takes on this role and is able to portray the duality of both Matt Murdock and the vigilante Daredevil successfully. He embodies the mild mannerisms of Murdock and the sheer determination to protect his city as the vigilante. By day, he is a defense lawyer, partnered with his best friend from college, Franklin Foggy Nelson. Nelson acts as a conduit for the audience, asking a lot of questions we ourselves cannot ask. He is also the comedic relief amongst all the violence. Now, as much as I do enjoy the brutality of the show, it does get exhausting at times. And that leads me directly into the fight choreography. It is incredibly well done. From the hallway scene where we see Murdock completely exhausted yet still so determined, to the fight between him and the Yakuza leader, where he is pushed to his absolute limits and is forced to drag his broken and bleeding body away to fight another day. It's these sort of scenes that keep our attention. And while it is interesting to see a more vulnerable side to the Man Without Fear through flashbacks and through characters like Karen Page and Claire Temple, they simply slow an otherwise fast-paced show down. However, these characters are still necessary to humanize Matt's vigilante persona. He even says himself that people like Karen Page are the reason that he does what he does. Now, on the other side of things, we have the antagonist, Wilson Fisk, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. He brings a three-dimensional depth to this character we're not used to seeing in comic book villains. We're used to this over-the-top, cartoonish evildoer type. The emotional rawness that he gives this character is something that I love so much. In the first episode we meet him, we see him awkwardly trying to woo the art curator, Vanessa. She quickly becomes a driving force behind many of his decisions. He actually ends up telling her his deepest secret. It's the relationship between Vanessa and Fisk that sometimes makes me care more for Fisk than I do for Murdock. Now, that's not to say I'm not rooting for the hero, it's just simply that Wilson Fisk is a much more complex and interesting character. This isn't me saying that any one actor or character hogs the spotlight. All the supporting and main characters help to drive the series to its final and ultimate conclusion. It's fascinating to see how these characters in the series develop over the course of the 13 episodes, and how they interact with one another. Be it Matt realizing what drives him to do what he does, Foggy becoming more independent and driven, or Wilson Fisk letting his emotions rule him. The character development in this series is insanely well done. There were a lot of people complaining about the iconic red Daredevil suit not showing up until the last 15 minutes of the series. To that I say I love the homage to Frank Miller's Daredevil, and even to the Trial of the Incredible Hulk where we first see that black suit appear. There's a lot in this show that's very reminiscent of DC's Arrow series on the CW. Including the Daredevil not being known as the Daredevil until the very end of the first season. Also, the dark, gritty nature of it, as well as his attitude that it's my city to protect. It's because of these similarities that I think fans of the CW's Arrow will be huge fans of this series, even if they're not fans of the Marvel Universe or even comics in general. It's less of a superhero show and more of a crime drama. It's an incredibly graphic show. It includes scenes of domestic abuse and mentions of child abuse. It's certainly not for the faint of heart. That being said, I personally think this the best superhero show out there today. Better than The Arrow, better than The Flash. I know it's a bold statement, but I stand by it. So whether or not you're a fan of Frank Miller's Daredevil, Daredevil in general, or even comics, I definitely recommend this show to you. I give it 10 out of 10, 5 stars, the whole shebang. On that note, I do want to talk about what I expect to see from the second season. There were hints dropped that we might see the Guild of Assassins known as the Hands show up. We have already seen part of the chase with Stick, his mentor, but with the Hand showing up, we'll get to see characters such as Elektra, Bullseye, maybe even Typhoid Mary, and that really excites me. There's already been rumors that David Tennant might be playing Zebediah Kilgrave, also known as the Purple Man. He is a huge Daredevil villain. He's a Croatian physician turned super spy who got into an accident on one of his missions, which turned his hair and skin purple and gave him the power to emit this pheromone that, when absorbed through touch or inhaled, gives him control of his victims, but only if they're within earshot. He's kind of the poor man's puppeteer. But who knows what's going to happen in the second season? Will we see Vanessa take over as the Kingpin role? Will we see Wilson Fisk manipulating his organization from behind bars? I am super stoked to see what happens next season. So, what else is new in nerd culture right now? We have new episodes of iZombie, The Arrow, The Flash. We have new trailers for Star Wars, Batman vs. Superman, and Ant-Man. We also have the rumored cancellation of NBC's Constantine. There's a multitude of new comic book series from Image, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse. I've only been reading a few. So tell me in the comics what you've been reading lately, what you're excited for, what's new, and don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, I'm Juice Campbell, and by your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!